Test, test. Well, we have a quorum, all members present. It's a great day in Kershaw County, the All-American County, and we've just finished the Carolina Cup and the Bethune Fest, and Holy Week is on the verge. We've got farmers markets opening up all over the place. The Boykin Spaniels were shown last week, and we had a food fest at the historic Camden, and Bethune had their festival. So this is that time of year when we celebrate the county outdoors. It's been a great, great time. I would remind you, next week is Volunteer Week, and that's the spirit of this county, that less government is more government, is better government. Less government is better government. And the volunteers in this county, from the coaches in the ball fields to the churches and all these service clubs and things that we have in the county, are really carrying us forward and lifting us up to a higher level. And I just want you to remember, if you see a volunteer, and you're probably one of them, thank them. Well, we're called to order, and Councilman Russell Brazel will lead us in the invocation and the pledge. Would you please stand? Thank you.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for today, for everyone coming together, Lord. And this meeting just before Easter, it reminds us, God, that everything that you gave for us so that we could be forgiven. Please help us keep that in mind tonight as we meet, that we act in a Christian manner, we treat one another in a Christian way. Thank you for everything you've given us, Lord. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we didn't ask you to sing over there. We'll let Mr. Connell sing if we need to do that. Just some housekeeping. At your desk, you have a copy of our revised goals and objectives that Mary has placed there. And a little later on in the discussion, we have the Bailey Bill points of concern that were raised that Mary recorded from her minutes last time around, just for your reference. And I understand Mr. Brazel brought in some pop rocks.
That's right.
Middle school. It's like I'm in middle school.
All right, very good. We've moved the agenda around because we've got some wonderful citizens here from the KARE, the Kershaw Families Advocating Recreational Excellence. And with Mr. Connell's permission, we'll ask them to come up for a public presentation. Please come on up. Thank you, Jack. Jack Carrington. And if you want, introduce the members of your team that are with us tonight. And secondly, during a public presentation, we normally go about 15 minutes. All right, go ahead, Jack.
If I'm here 15 minutes, please. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, County Council. Appreciate the opportunity to get in front of you. Yeah, I won't introduce everybody. We've got, as you can see, lots of families here that came to support us and just wanted to get your ear and see if there were some things we could come together on and look to do some better things in the county. Again, I'm Jack Carrington. I've been in Kershaw County now for a little over 10 years. My wife, Bet, is a born and raised Kershaw resident. We have got 3 boys, a 5th grader, a 2nd grader, and 1 in kindergarten. And just been talking with several folks and several families for the past probably 3 or 4 years about the recreational facilities in Kershaw County. And we have come together and created this group to talk to y'all about how can we build better facilities and how can we have an awesome, awesome recreational facility for our kids, our grandkids, for the citizens coming to the county, the citizens that are already here. And that's just kind of what we want to talk about today. So again, CARE is a group we put together. We've got hundreds of families that have signed up and are eager to join this crusade and see what we can do. It's Kershaw Families Advocating for Recreational Excellence. Our mission, we're a group of families throughout Kershaw County, bound by the goal of creating and maintaining exceptional recreational facilities. In doing so, we firmly believe the health and wellness of our children and citizens, the economic development potential, and the stability of our entire county will exponentially improve. Then did y'all get And did we get the slides?
If you sent them to Mr. Templar, he would have them.
Danny, you got those? Okay, thank you very much. With me, I've got Shane Kirkley. He's going to come up here and speak and cover whatever I miss. The reason we formed, we recognize a great opportunity to help lead our entire county to create new and updated recreational facilities. We recognize what an amazing county we live in, but we also see an area of our county that needs some attention. The current state of our facilities throughout the county, from Lugoff to North Central, Bethune to Camden, need some upgrades. They need some life put back into them. A lot of these facilities are ones that my father-in-law sat in the dugout in back in the 60s and 70s. We're seeing exposed wires. We're seeing, benches that need to be replaced, soccer fields that don't have lights. And this is, again, all the way throughout the county. Our citizens are taking their recreational needs and their dollars to other counties. If we have improved facilities and we have a place to host tournaments, the economic development potential is enormous. You look at travel baseball, you look at travel football, you look at travel volleyball. We do not have a facility in Kershaw County to host a volleyball tournament. We don't have a facility in Kershaw County that can adequately host a baseball tournament. So all of our travel ball is going to Columbia, going to Orangeburg, going to Sumter, going to Jefferson. We think there's a great opportunity for this council to really put some improved facilities in the county, throughout the county. By creating these facilities, we know that we can improve our county in all areas. These new and improved facilities will be a huge component in showing corporations what a fantastic county we have for them to invest in, bring their jobs here. We'll attract tournaments from all over the state, southeast, and nation. These tournaments will fill our hotels, restaurants, stores, museums, bolstering all of our county's businesses. And last but not least, these new facilities will give our kids, grandkids, and truly all of our residents a place to improve their health, compete, and perform. Overall, this will be a place that we can all be proud of. We're not asking for anything but the county to look at how we can do this on a responsible, effective way. We're not asking for any taxes to be raised. We think there's potential to create some public-private partnership to create some very, very good indoor and outdoor facilities, again, throughout the county. All areas need to be touched. Again, there's a facility up in North Central, basketball arena, hadn't been touched in years. There is one facility in the county, one facility that's got the ability to host rec basketball. Not City Arena, it's the Armory. And we all know that was built before Mr. Burns was born. I'm teasing.
Come on.
I'm teasing. But all we're asking is we're a group, again, of about 100 or so families throughout the county. We've got representation here from North Central, from Camden, from Lugoff, from Bethune. They're all here to just say, hey, we would really love for y'all to do this. We think it's a great opportunity for the entire county to have something we'd be proud of. And it's a win-win. It's an absolute win-win. But we need to look at getting better facilities for our kids' future and one's current. And Danny, can you put those slides up? Before I turn it over to Shane, I just wanted to show some of our neighboring counties and areas that have these facilities that we want. So this is Sumter. They've got a fantastic facility. We scroll to the next one. This is Jefferson, and this is just an unbelievable facility. This is where our kids from Kershaw County are going to play all-star baseball. They're not coming to Kershaw. They're not coming to West Wateree. They're going to Jefferson to play on these facilities because we don't have an adequate facility to host it. Next one. This is in Lancaster. Unbelievable indoor facilities, walking tracks, gyms. Again, this isn't just for the kids, although it's an important part. This is for all the citizens to improve their health and wellness. I think the last one we got is Hartsville. It's just, we want to have that in Kershaw County. And we know that we can accomplish it. The one that's not on there is Orangeburg, and I wish I would have put that on there. It's unbelievable. If y'all get a chance, go right through it. We can have that here, without a doubt. So I very much appreciate your time. I look forward to working with this council to see what we can do. Y'all let me know what questions and concern you have. I'll turn it over to Shane.
Terrific. We'll go to questions as soon as you want to. Please, Shane.
Thank you, Council. Jack, I think Jack covered a bunch of everything that needed to be said tonight, but I just wanted to voice my opinion to let you know that this is a serious matter, okay? Jack and I didn't just call each other up 2 weeks ago and say, hey, let's get up in front of council and tell them we need new recreation, we need new facilities. We have been meeting on this for over a year, okay? Meetings, having discussions with different people, trying to find ways that we can make Kershaw County recreation an all-American county. Like you presented at the very beginning, an all-American county. The one thing we're lacking right now is recreation facilities, okay? I've been to Lancaster, Sumter, Jefferson, Orangeburg. They just built a brand-new $20 million facility in Orangeburg. The city of Orangeburg did. That's a beautiful place. I've been all around all the counties around here looking and trying to find ways how we can do it. And we've been holding meetings on trying to find ways that we can do it, and all we're asking for is the council to agree that this is what we need, and we need to find a way how Kershaw County can do what everyone else is doing around us. We're 15 years behind times with recreation in our county. People have been doing this all around us for 10 to 15 years, and it's time for Kershaw County to find a way to make it better for our kids, for our county, for our local mom and pop businesses, for our hotels, for our restaurants. All this growth, we need a quality of life for our kids to have recreation. If you want to build a spec building and you want a big company to bring in 300-400 employees, you better have a quality of life for those people to have good working people that want to come live here in Kershaw County. We're lacking in recreation. It's just not about putting money in a facility. It's about growth for Kershaw County. Born and raised Kershaw County, I brought my family back here to raise my kids here. I want Kershaw County to be what Sumter County has, what Lancaster has, even what Jefferson has. I mean, we're hosting recreation baseball all-stars this year in McBee. We can't even have it here in Camden. We have to go to McBee. They have better facilities than we do. So I just think it's time, and I want y'all to understand how serious this is. This is not just up here asking and hoping for us to find a way to put some lights over here or redo a little infield here or make the soccer field a little bit better. We need an improvement, and we need to set our visions high. If we don't set our vision to be the best, then we shouldn't have a vision at all. And so all I'm asking is for y'all to take serious consideration, for recreation for Kershaw County. It's time. I don't know if it takes 60 to 70 years to say it's time, but it's time now. And I thank y'all. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And you take some questions, Jack and Shane? Yeah, great. All right. Open it up for questions.
Yes. Go ahead, Ben. I yield to Ben.
Oh, sure. Well, I was just going to first say, thank y'all very much for coming tonight. Council, this came up because this group probably asked each of you as well, but they asked me, hey, what can you do about this? And I said, well, I'm basically one of 7, but you need to bring it before county council so that you can introduce this important issue to them and get their evaluation. So thanks, Shane, for coming tonight. Jack, thanks for coming. I see Ms. Collins, Mr. Beckham, and many others that I can't see fully in the back. I appreciate y'all being here and bringing this up. And with that, we've had several conversations. I'll leave it to council to ask some questions.
Ben, thank you for your leadership on this, and appreciate that. Again, these guys came back from spring break. These ladies came from leaving work early because they recognize, like Shane said, how important it is.
Yeah, and I enjoyed my conversations with you, Jack, and I've taken it up with the staff, and I think this is the beginning of a great conversation. I appreciate you taking time to talk to me multiple times. Appreciate it.
Yes,
Comments? Mr. Jones, you have
Yes,
one.
I do. I want to thank you very much for coming up and speaking out tonight, both of you. What you said is absolutely the truth. And I want to do a little bit of history. One of our former recreation employees, supervisors, we were talking, I don't want to call his name because he was scared to get involved at that time because he was a recreational department head. And but he's no longer with us. I went to him I said, what are your needs? This was 4 or 5 years ago. He said exactly what you said tonight. Then. I said, how much? He said, about $1 million. He said, Jimmy, we could probably do a lot and get things ready for just what you were talking about tonight. And I brought that before council in opposition of buying and doing parks, investing all our money into the parks. Nothing against parks. It just was not my priority. My priority was exactly what you're saying here tonight. You can go back, you can listen to the tapes, you can look on the record. I said pretty much verbatim what you just said tonight. Maybe not the same language, but it was verbatim, the same seriousness of a state that we were in. But it fell on deaf ears. I'm not trying to be ugly here. I'm just stating the facts. I'm glad to hear that my colleagues are willing to listen, that you folks, I hate that y'all have had to do this because we could have already had this ready. We had the opportunity to do it, but we chose to go another route. The river park and a couple of other things. A lot of labor-intense investment, a lot of money invested that could have been. And I know you're not here for the politics. This isn't politics. This is a fact. We could have taken that money, and we need to commit to using monies like that from this point on what you just said. And not any more parks. But I want to thank you. I agree with you. I support us trying to get things in order. And thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, other comments? Mr. Tucker, please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jack, Shane, and I'm going to call it the crew. Most of you out there I have personal relationships or dealings with. And, I was in the Recreation not only as a little boy, but coached 20-something years through the same Kershaw County Recreation Department. And we played tournaments down in Hartsville. They've been doing this for a long time. But I want to call a cat and a dog. I heard what you said in your statement about you don't want to raise taxes, but I want you to know Orangeburg, Sumter, Hartsville, it's that penny sales tax that they have passed, which is passed by the public, which 30% comes from outside people, a source of revenue that is steady, along with private-public partnerships, buys you this. I'm just being honest. And I think, look here, I've been looking for you guys for about 50 years, okay? Because nothing gets done in government until the citizens get tired or fed up, and then they put forward a team or an organization to push government in the right direction. There's certain things that we can do up here as a body, and there's certain things we can't do that you guys can do, such as that penny referendum. We can't go out here and hold up signs and say, vote for this and do this. We can give our personal opinions to our friends and our family. But I say that because there's a lot of footwork to be done. You don't have to sell me. Most of those folks I didn't know, I'm gun-ho about sports. Just about any and every type of sport you can think of. Other than gambling. I don't like to lose my money. Okay, so that's right. So that one I don't like. But it's the first time I've heard about your group. I'm excited about it. In any way that I can meet with you or help carry some of this water, I'm ready because this is where kids learn, what we call when I used to coach gut checks, how to play, be a teammate, how to, get through rough times. It teaches multiple lessons on multiple levels to our children, our boys and girls. And I think without sports, I know myself I wouldn't be where I'm at today. And I thank all my coaches and my parents and my loved ones who got me where I needed to be on those fields to play. So, okay. With that, I say thank you to all of you, and let's stay in touch.
Other comments? Mr. Snodgrass.
Hey, Jack, thank you for being here tonight, and the rest of you guys. This is a conversation we've been having for quite a while now, and I think this was the next logical step. We can have the conversations one-on-one, but at some point, we as a council need to see this front come here so we can all see as a group that this has been a problem. This has been an issue that we needed to address. I feel like we've done a good job with our community events, with the tinsel trails and like that kind of thing. We've seen a good emphasis on that. But yeah, when it comes to sports and youth sports particularly, there are opportunities, for us to take it to the next level. And so I appreciate you guys and your commitment to have a citizen-led coalition to help push this. And,
I know some of us here on the Camden side, you know, sometimes people in the county think that Camden gets everything, but when you look at recreation facilities, you know, some of the facilities on this side of the river have been neglected because we've been focusing so much over there, and that's good. I mean, I think it's all the above, but I'm with you guys. I want to see from Mount Pisgah to Elgin, there should be this sense of excellence, and so I really appreciate you guys being here tonight. You know, you've got me. Anything that we can do to move this forward, and unfortunately, Mr. Tucker's right. I know we don't like the T word at this desk. But you guys are talking about some really things that take commitment, not just from council, but it takes commitment from the community to say that this is important. We did it a couple years ago when we all noticed that our schools were in dire need, and the community got together and we put our money where our mouth was on that. And unfortunately, this is probably where this is going to have to head, because what you guys are talking about, it's not just one-time capital. You're talking about revenue that we need that's going to be operational to operate all these facilities. And I'm sure there's more ways to get at it, but you know, I thank y'all for making us aware and keeping the conversation hot.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Mr. Gardner.
Yeah, again, thank you for being here. I hope that we can use this as a catalyst for moving forward. I've said this for years. One of the biggest things, I'm a basketball guy. We don't have a place to play basketball. We need a facility, Camden and in Lugoff, to play basketball. You know, the schools are very gracious. They allow us to use their facilities, but unfortunately, they all have basketball teams.
Right.
So it limits the amount of time that we use. We use them on weekends and whenever they're not using them. So, I mean, I've said that for years, that we need that as much as anything else. That it's a multi-purpose facility that basketball, volleyball, walking track, where the community can go walk on cold days and things like that. That's one of the priorities that I would say we need. But hopefully we can use this as a catalyst going forward, that we can get something done. I don't know who you have representation from, but the more you can get from more areas of the county, the better. And we appreciate the work you've done. Look forward to the future.
Just a quick note on that, we've made a very conscious effort to make sure that there is tremendous support across the county from every single corner. And Mr. Tucker, to your point, sports is so important. It's so important for our kids. It is a socioeconomic, there is no barrier. We need to make sure every kid has got access to recreational sports all the time and quality facilities to do that in. It's gonna breed unbelievable citizens if we do that. Otherwise, we're just going to get in trouble on the streets. We all know the adage: you're playing sports, you're not doing other things. So.
I think I'm hearing yes across the board, and with the chairman's prerogative, I'm going to extend our time. Jack, if you don't mind standing up there a few more minutes. Any other comments? Mr. Brazel or Mr. Connell?
Well, I was just going to mention, it's been useful for me to think of it this way, my fellow council members. Joe Eason, before he left as department head for Recreation, said that it's a double-edged sword for us. In many ways, we're too efficient, and that makes us not attractive for travel ball or some of these larger events. So as soon as a particular season's over, that soccer field gets converted into a football field, and you can't host tournaments necessarily. And that might be one of the things we have to consider, is dedicating particular space to particular sports. I recognize you can still have multi-use space, but that's one of the things he shared, and he'd been doing it for a long time.
Absolutely.
All right, let's close it out, Mr. Jones.
A lot of the things that you talked about tonight are not reoccurring. They're upgrades. They're expansions, which we could have already done, should have done. I brought before this council years ago. Once again, and I want to remind my colleagues that this focus, I think we're all excited about this tonight. I've heard it everywhere I go, what you're talking about. There's monies we can find. We can get some money. We can do some things that you said you needed done. Now, Joe Eastman, I talked to him as well. And he told me, he said, please don't give me anything else till we get our till we get our ball fields and our soccer fields up to standard. They're not up to standard. Our dugouts, things you talked about with electrical wiring. Those are things he said to me when I sat down with him and talked with him in depth so I could get an understanding. Because I never played ball. I was not an athlete. I was in martial arts all my life. And so I deprived myself of being able to know what playing baseball, football was all about. I'm sure it would have been good if I did, but I didn't.
Me too.
However, I just want to thank y'all so much again for being here. And listen, we can find money. We don't have to raise taxes at every single issue that we talk about. We don't have to say there's got to be a bond with every single issue we talk about. But Mr. Tucker is correct in some ways. There's some things that if we build them, we may have to look at that. But there's a lot we can do right now to get some things up to standard that you mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you, and again, we're here to find a creative way to get this done in the most economically responsible way we can. We're not advocating raising taxes, we're not here to get political. That's what y'all are there for.
That's right.
We just want to figure out a way to get some awesome facilities for our awesome county, for our great kids to really, really thrive.
Appreciate you so much.
Mr. Chairman.
Closing comments? Yeah.
I was going to mention that.
Yeah.
We got ways.
Yeah. Yeah, Shane, I agree with you. As soon as I met with Jack and got a couple other calls from some of you, I went immediately and found that document, which has been sitting on my desk since I became chairman. And yeah, there's some good stuff in there. We update it, prioritize it, do what you say, then find partners, then find revenues, and let's just get on with it. Russell, you had one issue there. Go ahead.
Oh, I just didn't want to be left out.
Yeah.
Everybody else got to talk. I figure I should too. So Shane, when was that? 6 months ago, you and I talked about this. Shane's I'm sure been working everybody very hard.
Yes, he has.
Here's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see a couple of you guys serve on Recreation Commission if possible. Okay. You're the ones that are leading the charge, right? So if there's interest there, I'd love to see that happen. Be happy to appoint somebody. Shane. I'd like to see the plan, okay? So, I mean, tonight there's a lot of emotion. I've heard a lot of, we need, our kids deserve, and yes, you are right. All of the above is right. But we got to get into the meat and potatoes. What's it going to take? Who are the private partners? Where is it going to be? We need to see that. And if you want to see it happen, we need something, and it doesn't have to be a set of engineered drawings, but we need to frame something that's realistic. And right now, construction costs are double. Everything across the board's double. So this is probably a bad time to build, but a good time to plan. I would think in 12 to 18 months, construction costs may fall. With prices, hopefully will come down some. When can we look to hear back from you guys with a set of plans with directions?
Whenever you're ready.
I'm ready now.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you come over to the mic, because people are watching on Facebook, Shane. I'm sorry to make you a movie star here, but come on up.
No.
Well, I won't argue there, man.
Well, we just need we need council to help us. We need to know that there's going to be a commitment from council before we bring in private outside sources to help build something. We need to know that council wants this, that council's going to put in the effort to get a plan. We need a plan. I can't go out and ask for $10 million if it's going to cost $8, and I don't know what it's going to cost. You know what I'm saying? I can give you an idea. Yeah, I think we should build a really nice facility at Woodward Park. Woodward Park would be an unbelievable location. That's history for Camden. Camden doesn't have anything on this side. West Wateree, their facilities need to be upgraded so they can host tournaments. They can't host tournaments out there. There's no parking. There's no anything. You know what I'm saying? I have visions and plans, but I need the council to come together and get this thing figured out. I can't put together the drawings and the plans that were done 10, 15 years ago. I need council to do that. And we want to be on the outside to help figure out how we can make this happen.
All right, so let's continue to frame this, and we'll keep it within the next minute or two. Vic, is this something that we can help with the engineering of internally? Is this something that we could do, maybe not a final set of drawings, but an initial set of drawings with an internal engineer that works here?
No, not one that works here, but what we can do is we have enough established relationships with engineers out there that we do use, that we can ask them to give us some conceptuals, that as a rule, they're going to do that just as part of the cost of doing business with us. They'll give us some concepts, some estimates of cost. They're not going to be engineered, but it's going to give us a starting point.
I have a question.
That's item one under new business, I take it.
Part of it, yeah.
All right.
We'll talk about it in a little bit.
Yeah, good.
Well, I have
good.
one quick
Thank you so
question.
much.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
But I haven't had a chance to look at this because I just walked in here, but I don't know what's in it, but I'm going to read it. Have y'all got a list? Has anyone made a list of what needs to be repaired or what could be done now, with the facilities we have on hand, or what we would need to build, such as, I don't know, dugouts or
A lot of them need a bulldozer. I'm sorry to say that, but Woodward Park needs a complete makeover. But I'm wanting to, I feel like if we can get the funds together to build something, let's not Band-Aid something. Let's try to do it where we can fix it all at one time. I feel like we've been Band-Aiding things forever. And I want us to push to find ways to fix it right now, and then find ways to maintain it right the way that we need to do it. And there's all different ways for us to maintain it. I know that Kershaw County Recreation Department right now can't maintain everything if we build it like we want to build it. So we got to find ways to maintain it. And I haven't just been thinking of ideas. I've called people to see how can you help maintain it? Can this company help maintain it? Maybe the city can help maintain it if we build a nice facility. The city of Camden, if we build a nice facility in Camden, city of Camden is going to benefit greatly from hospitality tax. City of Camden should be involved. There should be a partnership with the city of Camden if we're going to build some nice facility like you see on those slides up there. We got to find, it shouldn't be all Kershaw County. It should be the city, Kershaw County. We should work together in some form or fashion. I mean, we share a city arena for basketball. That's a county recreational sport. There's got to be ways we can share this great big facility for Camden, and then Kershaw County can upgrade all of the West Wateree parks, and maybe that's all they have to maintain, and it makes those fields even better when they don't have to maintain Elgin, Lugoff, Camden, North Central area. We're all spread out. We need some type of plan to help. If we're going to build something nice and we're going to spend all this money, we need a plan to be able to maintain it all.
Shane.
So it doesn't.
Well said.
Thank you very much.
Well said,
And
but
I'm
back
gonna
to my
ask-
question.
Go ahead,
You talked
Jimmy.
about exposed wire. I think those things need to be addressed immediately.
Yeah.
Oh, y'all have? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We've got a
Good.
great
Great.
good rec department that needs some help and needs some support, and this is not us beating up on them like
Yeah.
we're happy with them. We just,
Listen, this is good discussion. I don't think anybody's beating up on anybody, yeah.
Yeah, good discussion. I'll let Mr. Tucker have the last word, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Shane, you and Jackson, Cheryl, up at the podium, I hear you cry, Shane, and I'm sitting here writing notes. You need recreation, you need staff here at the county, you need the commission, you need City of Camden, we need CARE. We need to pull some responsible working people. I said, the best people you can find is people with a PhD. You know what that stands for, right? whole, hungry, and determined. So, and when you find those people, you can get the best work out of them. And it doesn't have to be your whole group or any whole group out of this. And then let's start formulating what you see in the work y'all have done. And I'm willing to help facilitate that in any way that I possibly can, because you can't do it all. You don't have all of the resources to touch the people you want to, but you've got a lot of resources that can help partner with these bills that you're looking at that want to build. So Griff back there, I'm gonna call him out, and Cup back there, both got my number, and some of your parents. One of them is my relative sitting out there. Give me a yell, happy to help in any fashion, guide, do whatever, some foot, leg work. But I see where you're at, and I know where you want to go. And just talking about it tonight is not going to get it done.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. We got some work to do up here, and the best part of the work will have to be brain work, because Jack and Shane and the rest of you, thank you for taking your evening and your work away from your family and your business to be here. You've challenged us, and I guarantee you will step up. Thanks, Jack, Shane, everybody.
Thank you all for your service.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to take a second chairman's prerogative in addition to extending the time on this very important topic from the care personnel to move a proclamation forward honoring the month of the military child. We got quite a bunch of folks here for that. So we're going to move that up, and then we'll get into the normal agenda, which will begin with public comments. But for now, item number 1 is tab A at page 3 in your electronic book, a proclamation honoring the month of the military child. What we'll do is I'll read it, and then I'll ask for a motion. Stand by. And we did this last year, and you know I had a number of the commanding generals and deputy commanding generals as our guests at the Carolina Cup, and I told them about this, and they really appreciate that Kershaw County is home for military children, and from Shaw and McIntyre and all over the place, McCready, and of course from Fort Jackson. Whereas in 1986, the month of April was designated as Month of the Military Child, and whereas military children are a source of pride, earning our appreciation for the significant contributions they make in our schools, our communities, and throughout our state, despite prolonged and repeated absence by one or both parents. And whereas because the average military student faces transition challenges more than twice during high school, and most military children will attend 6 to 9 different school systems throughout their lives from kindergarten to 12th grade, the Military Interstate Children's Compact Commission is committed to resolving the educational transitional issues that are faced by these children and families. And whereas the month of the military child serves as a reminder that when a parent or parents serve in the military, their children serve too. And whereas with Purple Up, quote unquote, day on the 15th of April, please note that, which encourages military and civilian communities to wear purple as an opportunity to pay tribute to military children of Kershaw County and the 1.9 million military children of all ages who their strength and resiliency are the heart and soul of the military family. And therefore, Kershaw County Council proclaims the month of April the month of the military child and encourages all residents to honor the courage and sacrifice of our military children who do so faithfully uphold the American spirit and to support these children and their families. With that, can we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, make a motion that we pass the proclamation honoring the month of the military child.
Mr. Tucker, first, as a military officer, a soldier himself, a sailor. A second, please.
Second.
Mr. Gardner. With that, I think we have Patty Rose here to represent the families. And Patty, I think you have a thing to say, and then we'll get into discussion. Please, ma'am.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm here representing the military children of Kershaw County on behalf of Sarah Jane Arnett. She is the chair of the Camden High School Military Parent Advisory Council, and she is in Kentucky at the moment on spring break, so she's asked me to stand in her behalf. She sent remarks, thank you on behalf of the military community of Kershaw County for your continued support and public month of the military child proclamation. Kershaw County is home to all military branches with over 500 military-connected students in Kershaw County School District alone. Our county has done an incredible job to raise awareness, offering support to our military community, and continues to raise the bar with initiatives, programs, and events for Kershaw County leaders and citizens to rally behind our armed forces population. Thank you again to Kershaw County Council and the county at large for your continued support, and happy month of the military family. And she's also asked me to present council with an appreciation certificate from the Camden High School Military Parent Advisory Panel. So
Thank you,
thank you all
Patty.
so much, and thank you for having me on.
Can you
Sarah
stay
Jane's-
there with that wonderful smile?
How long?
Any comments, Mr. Tucker?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Make sure you tell her that we said thank you. That's the first time someone's given us something in a long time.
Well, you're welcome. And I grew up, as in my dad was career Navy. So I
here
spent
we go.
17
Navy.
years in the Navy, and everything on that proclamation is absolutely true. I came to Kershaw County and found my home in Camden
Yes,
after moving my whole life. So
Mr. Gardner,
thank you all.
others? Hold on a minute, please. Mr. Gardner, any comments?
Just thank you, and I know Sarah Jane, and she is
It's
a,
wonderful.
she's gung-ho and very good leader in that capacity. So my wife was, her dad was Air Force, career Air Force, and that's how she ended up here, and that's how I met her. So I think she went to like 6 first grades.
Yeah.
Because they moved all over the world. So it's a great thing that we recognize these children. Thank you.
Other
Thank you.
comments?
Yes.
Yeah, Jimmy, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Patty, I'm sorry. It's good seeing you.
Nice to see you.
Listen, thank you for bringing this up. You know, unlike my distinguished colleagues with their distinguished military careers, I was in the military, but I wasn't distinguished. I was drafted, I joined, so I wouldn't have to go in the Marines. I joined the Army. The best thing I ever did, went into private, came out of private. I was clerk typist. I couldn't keep my mouth shut. But the thing about it is, that was the best thing that ever happened to me in my life, was to be able to serve for my country. Didn't think at that time, when you're 18 years old and there's a war going on. But let me tell you something. I appreciate every veteran there is. I have a love in my heart for them. And for what you're doing, what these kids here tonight, you're our kids. You're America's kids. You're my kids. We're all in this together. And I thank you so much.
Other comments? Yeah, my kids moved 3 times in 1 year to different schools. And it's just a part of the welcoming nature of our county and the patriotic nature alluded to by Mr. Jones of this county, that we love our military and those who serve, who have served, will serve, and those who fell in service of this country. Many military veterans are in this room right now that can apply to that. That's active, guard, and reserve. So with that, I think we move to a vote. All those in favor of that motion signify by raising your hand. And it's unanimous. And Patty, if you'd come up and make that presentation up here, we'll record
Certainly,
it.
and I want to shout out to Sarah Jane, who's watching.
Yeah, we'll get a
via
picture
monitor.
and send it to her.
Hold up.
Here, you want to hold this up, guys?
All right, thank you very much, and we return to the agenda order. And we move to the first item on the agenda after the invocation. We're a little bit off, but we're on. Public comments. Mr. DeBose, do we have anybody signed up?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, 8 people signed up. The first person that signed up is Jeannie Collins. Mrs. Collins.
And ma'am, as you come up, we limit it to roughly 3 minutes. There'll be no Q&A, no return.
Okay.
on your comments, but if things are left with us, we'll make sure we get in contact with you.
Okay.
Secondly, we keep it within the order of the business of the county. Please, go ahead, please, ma'am.
My name is Jenny Collins. I
Bring the
am-
microphone up there, please, Jenny.
I'm too tall. I am a military brat. I'm a transplant to the area. I've been in Kershaw County for about 18 years. I love it here. My husband grew up with Ben as his best friend and partner in crime.
Don't admit that.
Usually I'm a very passive, just put a smile on my face, but I've gotten to the point where I can't put a smile on my face anymore about certain issues that are going on. I got my first chance to talk to Jack today. I didn't know anything about his organization, and I think it's great. However, I do think he left out, and it was touched on a little bit, but there's a major part of our community that lacks in every way, and it's basketball. We have 3 AAU teams represented here. My little boy plays on takeover from Camden. There's the girls' team in Camden. There's also the Blue Demons in Lugoff. And I know that it was mentioned that we have access to the schools. We do not. We have access to one gym in all of Kershaw County, and it's the Armory. And I don't know how many of you guys have been in the Armory lately, but when a window breaks, the solution to fix it is a hefty bag with tape. It's very sad. And it's sad that we have this great community of these coaches. Some of them had to leave because we have a practice right now. These kids are our future. And I think that in Kershaw County, unfortunately, we've shifted towards baseball's big anymore and soccer. But we can't forget about the basketball kids that are out there. There's a lot of them. And not only do we need new facilities, but please just give us access to the facilities we have. A majority of the time, the Armory is not even available to us because we're denied access for reasons such as they're holding court there or a book rummage. And I'm not saying those things are not important in our community. What I am saying is, don't take away our only court that we have to play basketball on. If the schools are going to be a thing that we're able to access, please tell me how. Because if you call right now the rec department, and I know the director's sitting back there, or he was, they won't tell you that that's where we have access to. We have the Armory, and that's it. And I think we know that, and I'm sure the sheriff can attest to this, if we keep these kids off the street and we keep them involved in sports, we will see our crime go down. So not only do the kids need it, but I've gone out there many a times with my little boy to train with him, and there are people my age out there, people older than me, playing pickup games in the Armory. They need the space too. And I don't have a plan of action, but I am gonna get linked up with Jack and help him. And I know I've been in contact with Ben, but I'm not gonna go away. Even when my little boy grows out of this is a facility that these kids need. We don't need an Armory that is literally falling apart. Like paint's shipping off, water gets in there. I mean, we should really honestly be ashamed that that's our only basketball facility.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pathetic. These AAU teams, just so you guys know, Takeover went this last weekend. We took home a championship. We can't even put our trophies anywhere. We don't even have a place to put our trophies. And we should be proud, not just of certain select groups of people. Basketball is big. Let these kids thrive in our community and let them grow up to be something great. And our coach had to leave, like I say, because he had practice, but he has a vision not only just for basketball, but he wants to get our youth involved in things with helping out service projects with the military. He was telling me about that just this weekend. He'd like to get programs, but you can't have a program if you have no place to put the program.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you very much.
I appreciate the time, and I look forward to getting to know you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. DeBose.
The second person that signed up is Jack Carrington.
I think Jack left.
He stepped out.
All right.
The third person that signed up is Jamie Coulter.
Mr. Coulter.
Yeah, I just had a concern about the removal of the dock. They've removed a few of the I-beams and some of the dock, the aluminum docks that were there. I'm just worried that if they go in to remove the other I-beams and they cut them off, they're not far enough below the water level, that we're gonna have another hazard similar to what we have downriver with steel from the old trestle. And I wasn't sure what the contractor's plan is, or if you even know. I've not, I just wanted to bring that to attention. Maybe someone could.
Thank you, sir. Do we have your phone number and everything?
Is he through?
I don't know. I don't think I put it on there.
Can we make sure we have it, please? 'Cause-
You have his address.
Okay, good. We'll get in touch with you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Coulter. Mr. DeBose.
The next person signed up is Mark Root.
Mr. Root?
All right, first, I know you're not supposed to respond here, so I understand that. I'm going to start with a comment. Julian, if, as you said in the beginning, less government is better government, why do you keep taking our tax money to build more pet projects that financially benefit your family and friends? Next, the signs you have out alongside the road say you're the county chairman, not that you're running for county council chair. Should we just start calling you county
Mr.
chairman?
Root, we don't have personal issues here.
Oh, I have personal issues with you.
But we won't go into personal issues here. If you have a policy.
If you
or-
stop interrupting, I'll continue to
No,
the
no,
actual
sir.
questions.
That's where we're going to do this, so go
Should
ahead.
we just call you Chairman Mao?
Point of order, he didn't call your
Anyway,
name,
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Jones.
No,
Go
Next.
ahead.
For the
He's
record,
personally
his name,
attacking a
Mr.
member of
Chairman.
council, and I'll
Okay.
stand.
We're going to have to go into recess here, Mr. Root, if you continue that way.
Next, for recreation. I love the idea, but how do you think a $20 million facility and more can be done without taxes? The penny tax you mentioned is a tax. It's in the name. That's raising the taxes. I love the idea. But what about the kids who have no chance of getting there? You know, the ones that are starving. Before we try to focus on fixing or building new, amazing places, how about we help the kids that are starving? The ones that need food brought to them during the summer because they have no food. Let's deal with that first. I have children. I want them to be able to play in public parks. But I don't want their friends that they know in school who don't eat to not be able to play with them. Also, let's stop paying for the baseball field behind the KCSD admin office. Check the Google satellite images there. It's there. I drove back and checked it. There is a maintained baseball field behind the school district admin office. Why? Next, moving on. Who's going to replace Shane in Kershaw's Vision 2030 now that he accepted a position at Dorchester County, according to the Chronicle Independent? We need to keep an eye on who they're going to replace Shane with in the schools, too. But who is that? I couldn't find it anywhere. Finally, Frankie, when are we going to be able to see the video of Goldsmith's greatest hits? Did the Sims lawsuit
Young
that
man,
just settled for $1.5
Mr.
million make the cut?
We're going to go into recess.
Yeah, I'm done.
We're in a recess.
I'm done with you, Julian. We're good.
Thank you. I want to remind everybody here, we don't do personal attacks. We talk, young man, thank you. What we do here is hear input from the citizens, respectfully rendered without personal attacks, so that we can get into, let that man leave, please. Thank you. And now I'll declare we're out of recess and we're back. Thank you very much. Mr. DeVos, go ahead.
Next person signed up is Katie Gwynn.
Ms. Gwynn?
Hey, good evening, Council, Kershaw County. My name is Katie Gwynn. Last night, I attended the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, and I think it's important for the council members and the public to know what went on. There were 2 developments on the agenda last night for approvals. Neighboring landowners spoke in opposition to one of the developments. Their concerns were increased traffic on Highway 1 in Lugoff-Elgin, the overcrowding of schools in Lugoff-Elgin, and the lack of sewer system availability. After listening to the citizens, 2 commissioners attempted to make motions to table and/or disapprove the developments. These commissioners were told they could not make a motion to disapprove the request based on citizen opposition. I found this interesting because in July of 2021, this same commission made a motion for disapproval of a rezoning for development due to neighboring landowners' opposition and speaking out. This is inconsistent with the actions that were taken last night. The commission chair stated that the motion to disapprove a request had to be something based specifically in the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan that I have heard you all talk about is outdated. So my question to council is, why in July was it okay for the commissioners to listen to the public and make recommendations on behalf of the public, but not now? If the commission cannot freely disapprove developments or freely speak about their concerns, what is their purpose? I witnessed commissioners being told what motions to make or not make. Again, if all approvals or disapprovals are bound solely by the comprehensive plan, then why do you appoint commissioners? This council says it's committed to responding to the rapid growth, and I certainly believe that. But when the plan and zoning commissioners tried to make decisions on behalf of the people with respects to growth west of the Wateree, their hands were tied. I urge each council member to reach out to their appointed commissioner and touch base with them on what happened last night. The commissioners need the autonomy to make decisions without pressure and the freedom to act on concerns of the public just as you can. I see the commissioners as an extension of you, your subject matter experts, and your eyes and ears in planning and zoning. Last night was the first time that I'm aware of that commissioners needed to justify their actions, their motions, or their votes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. DeBose?
The next person that signed up is Gwendolyn Shannon.
Gwendolyn Shannon, thank you.
Good evening, Chairman Burns and members of the council. Thank you for this time. I'm a resident of Knights Hill, and when I opened my March electric bill, I experienced sticker shock, along with my neighbors. We called customer service and attempted to get information about the spike. There was no explanation or reason that made sense to us. In my household, we have a gas generator. So we use that to warm certain areas of the house and to keep the refrigerator running. When I looked at my bill, I found no credit for the 2.5 days that we were without electrical. I called several companies, and they told me that they did not provide service to my area. I'm in walking distance of neighbors who have additional service providers. I want to tell you a story. John sold hamburgers. He made a good burger. Lettuce, tomatoes, and it cost $1.50. After a while, he decided to remove the lettuce. And the customers asked, well, where's the lettuce? He said, you don't need lettuce. Later, Jill opened a hamburger stand, and she started to provide lettuce, tomatoes, and because she had a garden, she added onions. It cost $2. Where do you think the customers went? What do you think happened to John? Well, we need a choice. And therefore, we would like for you to take the following suggestions that may help us. Number one, provide companies that we can select from. Provide an explanation of drastic kilowatt cost. And 3, notification when there's a drastic increase in kilowatts usage. Number 4, provide a person that could explain the discrepancies in our bills. For instance, I have tax and fire on my bill, and my insurance doubled. They told me the reason for that was because the rating had gone from a 9 to a 3. Number 5, put a pre-recorded message on the service when there's going to be a blackout so that we'll know that there's a blackout. We thank you very much for your consideration, and we hope that you can take some of these into your thought process so that we could have a choice.
Ma'am, do
Thank
we
you.
have your address?
Yes,
contact?
and number.
And you're inside the city of Camden?
I am in.
She's in
Knight's
Knight's
Hill.
Hill, but she's provided.
Thank you very
by
much.
Camden.
Thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am. Nice to see you. Mr. DeBose?
The next person is the sheriff of Kershaw County.
Sheriff.
Lee Bone.
I was going to say Jim Matthews.
Well, it's my turn. I'm going to keep it civil. I wanted to point out this month as a Autism Awareness Month, you'll see I passed out some fancy patches for everyone on council. Our deputies will be wearing these, a little smaller version, as soon as they arrive. This is the month for this. It's also the week for Telecommunication Officers Week. I want to read a little something they put on their page yesterday that says a lot. We come in on our only day off. We stay over when it's time to go home. We dedicate our lives to being the calm voice at the other end of the line. We know the definition of a bad day at work. We are the first ones to take the call, yet the last to know the outcome. We are never seen but deserve to be heard. Dispatcher. Nothing could be truer than that. We all know our first responders, those of us that's worked in law enforcement, we are not the first responders. It's our dispatchers. When you call 911, you're not talking to a deputy. You're not talking to a fireman. You're not talking to a EMS. You're talking to a dispatcher. You'll never see them, but they're the ones that get the ball rolling. So I just wanted to point out the Autism Month and Telecommunication Officers Week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Always good to see you, Sheriff. With that, Mr. DeBose?
The last person that signed up is Gene Hardis.
Mr. Hardis.
Mr. Chairman and county council members, I'm not asking for anything tonight. I'm just trying to make a comment. I want to talk about our wonderful employees of Kershaw County. We have some very wonderful employees in Kershaw County. I had the pleasure of meeting two of them Saturday. Bill Nettles and I worked at the recycling center off of Black River Road Saturday morning. That was the cleanest I'd ever seen that recycling center. If you have a chance to drive by, the lady who works down there, her name is Maggie Grooms. She is an amazing lady down there. The gentleman who works down there is Abraham Wiley Jr. He's been there 5 months, and she's been there 6 months, they told me. And everybody who came in was bragging about how clean the facilities were. And every time somebody dropped something on the ground, they were out raking it up or sweeping it up and putting it into one of the bins. And I've been using that place down there for over 20-something years. I have never, ever seen it that clean. I don't think it was that clean when it was brand new. That's correct. But it's clean. Miss Tucker, you shaking your head, you've been by there too. But if you ever have a chance to ride by, and I haven't been to the other recycling centers, I've been to a few of them. I'm hoping they're clean too, but this one is unreal. It is so clean. It's one you can take pictures of and show people down there. Mr. Carpenter, if you're down that way, please drop in and see those people. They would love to see you. They are the friendliest two people I ever met down there, and they enjoy what they do, working down there. I didn't ask for anything. Gentlemen, I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. DeBose?
Mr. Chairman and members of council, that concludes the sign-up list.
And that concludes public comments. We move to adoption of agenda. The agenda is on your screen. Can we have a motion to approve or amend? And I will start out
Make a motion to approve the agenda as
Very
submitted.
good. A second?
Second.
From Mr. Gardner. I would first say that I'm going to remove from the agenda item number 2, thanking Mr. Brian Motley. He got called away to the Department of Transportation. And we'll get back to that later. I'll talk about that in my comments. I want to amend the agenda. Can I have a motion to delete that item? Yeah, Mr.
I'll make the
Jones.
motion to delete that item.
Thank you. A second, please.
Second.
Mr. Connell. Any other amendments?
I so have.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Let me first go ahead and vote on that?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, but we're okay,
Correct.
Jimmy, we're doing fine. Okay, all those in favor of that amendment signify by raising your hands. Unanimous. Jimmy, go ahead, please.
Julian, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to delete item 3 under new business and delete the executive session as well.
Okay, very good. Can we have a second on that?
Second.
I yield to Mrs. Snodgrass.
Who was the second? Mrs. Snodgrass? All right, any discussion on that?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead,
Very,
Jimmy.
very briefly. I only propose to delete this item at this meeting based on my discussion with the county administrator, Mr. Vic Carpenter, and the county attorney, Mr. Ken DeBose, who told me that any policy would only apply to the future and not the present circumstances or circumstance, which I have a great concern about. I will bring this back up in the future at a future council meeting, and I probably won't be as nice as I am tonight about it when I do that. Furthermore, I do not, let's just say this, I do not agree with the county administrators or the county attorney's opinion on this issue at this time. And folks, I'm just going to say this, time will show that I will be right on this when I do bring it up as usual, when time has a chance to filter it. But I'm hoping that it can all get worked out.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Further discussion? Seeing there is none, we move to a vote on that amendment. Can we have a show of hands? And Mr. Brazel?
I'm going to abstain for anything
All right.
to do with the
So
adoption.
all
of the
those in
agenda.
favor signify by raising your hands. Mr. Jones, Mr. Connell, Mr. Burns, Mr. Gardner, Mr. Tucker, and Mr. Snodgrass. And abstaining is Mr. Brazel. With that, we move to a vote on the agenda as amended by Mr. Jones and myself. With that, can we have a vote on that? With that, can we have a motion, I think, first? I believe, isn't that right? Can we have a motion to vote on the agenda as amended?
We've already passed the amendment, so we just need to pass
The motion is amended.
Yeah.
Do we need a motion on that?
Got a
Mr.
motion. Yeah,
Mr. DeBose?
It'd be a motion on the agenda as amended.
That's correct. Can I have a motion on the agenda as amended, please?
Move to
Miss-
approve the
Mr. Gardner?
agenda as amended.
A second? For Mr. Snodgrass, any discussion? Seeing there is none, would we move to a vote? All those in favor of the agenda as amended, raise your hands. Mr. Jones, Mr. Connell, Mr. Burns, Mr. Gardner, Mr. Tucker, Mr. Snodgrass. Any opposed? None. I would take it Mr. Brazel is abstaining. Thank you. The agenda is approved as amended. We move now to the next item on the agenda, skipping items 1 and 2 under proclamations to item number 3, which is a proclamation for Fair Housing Act, which I'll read and then we'll take a motion. Whereas the Fair Housing Act, enacted in April 11, 1968, enshrined into law the goal of eliminating racial segregation and ending housing discrimination in the United States, and the act prohibits discrimination in housing based on race, color, religion, sex, familial status, national origin, disability, and commits recipients of federal funding to affirmatively further fair housing in their communities. And whereas Kershaw County is committed to the mission and the intent of Congress for fair and equal housing, and whereas our social fabric, the economy, health, and environment are strengthened in diverse, inclusive communities, and whereas more than 50 years after the passage of that act, discrimination persists and many communities remain segregated, whereas acts of housing discrimination and barriers to equal housing opportunity are repugnant to common sense and decency and fairness. Therefore, now be it resolved that Kershaw County does hereby declare the month of April 22 as a Fair Housing Month. Can we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Tucker, a second, please.
Second.
From Mr. Snodgrass, any discussion? Seeing there is none, we move to a vote. All those in favor so signify. And it's unanimous, and Mary, it passes, and we'll sign that when I get out of here. Thank you. The next item is the approval of minutes. It's at tab D, page 6, and it's up on the board. Can we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Mr. Gardner, a second.
Second.
from Mr. Tucker. Any discussion? I believe all were present during that. Move to a vote. All those in favor so signify. And it's unanimous. Thank you very much. We move now to a resolution providing preliminary approval for certain incentives to induce Project Local, acting for itself, one or more current or future affiliates, and other project sponsors, to establishing manufacturing and related facilities in Kershaw County, South Carolina, including a negotiated fee in lieu. It's at tab E, it's at page 8, and it's on the board. Mr. Carpenter, can you introduce this real quickly, please?
Mr. Chair, members of council, we have in front of you the
Yeah, I'm going to recuse myself and leave.
Right, go ahead. Mr. Carpenter, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, members of council, we have in front of us a resolution that is preliminary approval for incentives for a fee in lieu for Project Local. We had previously addressed this issue some years ago. It is time to renew these as the company is looking now to begin the process of building their facility. So we have in front of you for a resolution and first reading in title only, this fee in lieu.
Thank you very much. Can we have a motion to approve?
So
move.
Mr. Snodgrass, second. Jimmy, be fine? Good?
Second.
All right.
Well, you were stepped back in the chair, man.
Yeah. All right. Very good.
And Preacher, you need to breathe.
Now, just let me ask you a question, Mr. Carpenter. With this item, this extends one, or is this a new agreement?
This is not a new agreement. We previously worked with the company.
So it's
Mr. Bose needs to give you further explanation.
We'll get to that in the questions. All right, with that, any discussion? I think the first was from you, Mr. Snodgrass. Mr. Jones, you have the second?
I'll let him go first.
I was just getting on the floor.
Anyway.
Until we know more details, it sounds.
Okay, very good. I need to explain that
Excuse me, I'm getting
Mr.
ready to talk.
I need to explain that Mr. Brazel excused himself on this issue and for reasons of a legal nature. Mr. Jones, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, so much.
Mr. Chairman, excuse me, Mr. Brazel recused himself because he has an economic interest.
Correct.
The family does.
That's correct.
And that was actually what I was going to talk about. I have much respect for Russell for recusing himself and walking out of the room, because that's what I would always do if the Alpha Center came before the county council. It's the right thing to do. If you have a connection with something, you get up, you walk out. You don't need to stay in the room. You don't just abstain. You recuse and walk out. And much respect for him for that. And I think this is a good thing. I'm very proud of this family. They've done a great job. Third generation. Let's move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Other discussion? With that, we seem to have closed the loop. With that, we move to a vote. All those in favor signify by raising your hands. And it's unanimous with Mr. Brazel excusing himself. At that point, can we bring him back in?
Mitch, we can, but I would point out that there's going to be a first reading on the ordinance affecting this. You may want to do that next.
All right, let's do that, and I'll take chairman's prerogative. That's item number 2.
I agree.
Is that item number 2?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, we're going to skip down then to the next item. It passes Mary with Mr. Brazel excused. We move to item number 2, which is a first reading in title only of an ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a fee agreement by and between the county and Project Local and its affiliates. Mr. Carpenter just explained that very briefly, and we'll put a motion out.
I so move.
Mr. Carpenter, do you need to explain that?
No, sir, it's a title only for the fee and lieu.
Okay, very good. And that's what I wanted you to say. Mr. Jones has seized the initiative and got the first motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Second from whom, please?
Snodgrass.
Okay, Mr. Snodgrass again. All right, we open discussion. Mr. Jones, you want to discuss it?
Just as I said, I'm very proud of this family, what they've accomplished in Kershaw County. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Others?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead.
I'll just note that prior to Mr. Brazel ever being on council, council was inclined and actually had discussions and votes in the past to support this local family business, which is kind of cool because you usually don't get to look at small local business in that way. It's usually someone coming from out of town that we're talking about these types of incentives with. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Very good, thank you. I think we move to a vote now. All those in favor, so signify. And it's unanimous, and with that, it passes. Mary, could you ask Mr. Brazel to come back in, please? Thank you, Russell. With that, we move to the item number 1 under ordinances, a first reading in title only, enacting and establishing a special property tax assessment for rehabilitated historic properties. It was placed on the agenda by Mr. Connell. Can we have a motion to move into, I guess, a first reading on that, please?
Make a motion that we pass it as stated on first reading.
Second. Can we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Snodgrass, of course. With that, Ben, I'll ask you to lead off.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've talked about it in the past. This is regarding the Bailey Bill, which is a state statute that allows you to actually experience some type of tax cut or tax savings. That's why I'm pretty excited about it. It's not every day that you have this opportunity to have folks save on their taxes for an extended period of time. For second reading, assuming, and if it does pass tonight, for second reading, some of the issues we'd need to look at, and maybe even for discussion tonight, would be the length or a period of years for which it applies. I've seen 5, 10, 15, and 20. It seems to me, based on my research, that 10 is a fair number to apply. And again, that would be 10 years of the tax rate being frozen at the time prior to improvement or prior to reassessment. The amount of the application fee is another thing that has to be determined for second reading. And I also want to mention, Mr. Chairman, that the process would tend to be City of Camden has a preliminary approval process, and we can piggyback on their approval. They actually have someone who's skilled and certified in these matters on historic properties. And so they can handle the application in City of Camden, and we can say, yes, we accept that approval. We can use it that way. And at any point, Mr. County Attorney, if I state something incorrectly, please lean on me and let me know where I've gone astray. Part 2 of that would be, if it's not within the City of Camden's city limits, the state archives has a process where, yes, our county staff would have to touch some papers, but it'd be an application that we'd put together, and it would go to the state archives. This is within their purview. It's one of the things that they are able to do, and they would determine whether or not the property qualified for a Bailey Bill application and tax savings. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other comments? Second by Mrs. Snodgrass.
Just want to say thanks to Councilman Connell for putting this on the agenda. This is a conversation I've been having with many of our business owners since I got on council, and so thankful that we can finally begin to put some wheels on this thing. For me, this is a low risk, low cost way for us to incentivize commercial development. I recognize this does include residential, but we know that commercial is really going to take advantage of this. And so we have parts of our county that are in dire need of commercial revitalization. And I see this as a no-brainer way to allow private equity to be invested into our county, and then for us to benefit from it. And it sounds like from Mr. Connell, some of the things that you've shared, we've got some details, probably even more than what we're used to having for first reading, as far as the logistics, leaning on the City of Camden for Camden properties, and then being able to lean on the state archives for countywide projects. And then my question would be, do you think, probably a question for county administrator, will we have any sort of protocol in place as far as applicants adhering to certain standards or facade standards, types of looks, things like that, or is that something we won't get into with this?
I mean, ultimately, Mr. Snodgrass, as I understand the way the law is written, there are very specific requirements that a building must follow in order to be eligible, not just as the building historic, but is it renovated in a fashion which also meets those standards and policies. So it can be a rather involved process depending on the building itself. And that's where we would still look at organizations, counties like Lancaster County, maybe Richland County, that have this in place and how they've implemented it in order to ensure that we can support it as best we can.
Right. Thank you.
Other comments? I would point out to you, you have in front of you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Mr. Jones, go ahead.
If I may.
Let me just finish. You have in front of you the list from which Mr. Connell was reading about some of the things that we all wanted further explored as a part of that. I will go through that again in a moment. Go ahead, Mr. Jones. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. DeBose, I have a lot of questions, but I'm going to cut them down tonight, to be honest with you. Would you just explain what the Bailey bill is based on?
Well, I think the caption says it is the special property tax assessment program for rehabilitated historic properties. So what it boiled down to is, if you qualify for the Bailey bill, then your reassessment is based on the value when you started the eligible. That's the operative word is eligible rehabilitation. Not all the rehabilitation is going to be eligible, but the eligible rehabilitation, you would get a tax break on that.
Thank you. Mr. Carpenter, I think I asked at the last meeting. I'm not necessarily against this. I just want to understand what the protocol is as to how you would implement this and how you would handle it. And at the last meeting, you just said you didn't have one.
Well, we don't have one currently, Mr. Jones, that's correct.
You still don't?
Right, we would, but looking at counties who have it in place, obviously, if Lancaster County and the city of Camden both have a process in place, that we would use their existing process as a guideline for starting our own. Now, obviously, any nuances that are different in Kershaw County, we'd reflect, but by and large, this is going to be the same set of processes anywhere that everybody has to go through as far as determining if a building is eligible, and then if it's eligible, do they meet the other qualifications set by state law?
Well, I do understand that Lancaster has been involved, correct?
Yes, sir.
Has anyone reached out to Lancaster?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what was your?
Well, I don't have feedback from them yet as far as that. We'll probably have to get with them.
So
and
we
actually
still don't have that?
Yes, sir.
Well, let me ask you this. Have you or anybody in your organization or administration talked to anybody other than Lancaster outside the county, other than Lancaster? Have y'all talked to the state archives?
I reached out to the state archives, and they have a process that they have to go through as well. So I've got information from the director of the state archives.
So you think by third reading you will have a protocol set together
I'll have something.
as far as how it's going to be administered?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Other
Because
comments?
excuse me,
Okay.
because that's really just my main concern. I just want to make sure we have that in place
Okay. Yes, sir.
for my support. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Connell.
Thank you for those questions, Mr. Jones and everybody else on council. That prompted one thing. It made me think about the cost aspect. I remember that was a question last time. And in talking to county staff and the administrator, they don't feel like there will be significant costs that'll be negligible based on the number of applications that we see in other areas of the county, particularly city of Camden. And then one of the interesting parts of this was it's not just any building that qualifies. You know, if you can have mixed use space, and if it's not technically accessible to the public, then that improvement wouldn't qualify. Is that right, Mr. County Attorney?
Yes, it has to be it's interior. The exterior that's viewed by the public, of course, is typically subject to it if it meets criteria.
Yeah, so there's some leeway
Interior.
for interpretation there, but you could have a building that's 50%.
That's correct.
50% eligible and 50% not, based
That's
on what
correct.
it's used for.
Eligible rehabilitation. That's correct, Mr. Connell.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Other comments? I'll point out, I'm just going to read what Mary has recorded for us, and many of you have already touched on this. South Carolina Archives as a reviewing authority and the standards that pertain to eligibility. Term of tax relief, fee for consideration voted in each budget, cost of implementation, coordination, it's already been mentioned, with Camden, Bethune, and Elgin, burden on the staff, that was Mr. Jones, amount of improvement to the property, and the 2002 and 2003 study, and the role of county council. Those were some of the items y'all raised last time. With that,
Mr. Chair, can I say one thing?
Go ahead.
And thank you so much for letting me come in. Guys, all I want you to do is just tell me how you're going to do it. That's what I want you. I think it's a good thing. I think it could be a good thing. I think it would be a burdensome thing. But it could be a very good thing for us. But I just need you to tell me how we're going to do it and can you do it. Thank you.
all right, with that, we move to a vote. All those in favor, so signify on first reading. And I see it's Mr. Connell, Mr. Burns, Mr. Brazel, Mr. Gardner, Mr. Tucker, and Mr. Snodgrass. Those opposed, Mr. Jones, and it passes. We move now to items of new business, I think, and which is recreational evaluation and improvements in Kershaw County. It's item number 1. There's no enclosure placed on the agenda by Councilman Connell. Ben, do you want to introduce this for a vote or what?
Yes, Mr. Chair, and I'll introduce it, and it will have a vote associated with it. I make a motion that would you like to move it into discussion first, or you want the actual motion?
Well, a motion.
Okay. I make a motion that we authorize the county administrator to evaluate and determine ways to improve indoor and outdoor recreation in Kershaw County and bring those recommendations to county council within the next 6 weeks.
Second.
Who is the second?
Snodgrass.
It had to be David.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Ben, would you like to lead the discussion?
If I had an enclosure, it would be the public presentation that just occurred. That would be my enclosure. The care group that came in, comments from Ms. Collins. You heard from Mr. Jack Carrington and also Mr. Kirkley. And I think we just need to let Vic have the opportunity to take a look at this and let us know what we need to do, what it's going to cost. That's what you heard several times. We have great visions, but what's it going to cost and who can we partner with and how would we fund it? And so I'd like to have this passed tonight so Vic can get back to us on what's possible and what needs to be done so we can take action based on citizens' feedback.
Okay. Comment from a second here, Mr. Snodgrass.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. I voted second on this tonight and want to support it because I think what we're in is a situation where we really need to get on a very nitty-gritty level. We kind of started getting into that detailed level even with the public presentation, and that's not very helpful. What we need is staff to really be able to dig into this and come back with some recommendations. And while I've got your attention, I want to point out that this has nothing to do with our current recreation staff and department and thinking that there's any lacking there. I think it's going to come down just to a priority issue. Because I've been in contact with our director, Shane. I mean, he regularly sends me vision items of like, hey, I've been here, look at this. So, I mean, I think the type of things that have been talked about are on Shane's radar, or at least from my perspective, they seem to be. And I think for county, for council, it's been a matter of, we need to make it a priority so that we can begin to give some things some teeth. During public comment, we had a mom talk about the lack of basketball space, and that is so right on. As someone who played, that was my sport. I grew up in a community that had plenty of basketball space. We don't have outdoor courts. It's even hard to go find where can I go play pickup ball on like just old school pickup ball outside. Here in Kershaw County, we're inadequate even on that type of space. And so I think digging into this will help us dive into that. As far as the AAU teams, yeah, I mean, I pastor a church in town that has, gave gym space to one of the AAU teams because there was lack of space, and we were certainly happy to partner with them, and hope you guys can join us to help move this forward and see what we can do. Thank you.
Other comments?
Yep.
Mr. Gardner.
Is 6 weeks long enough to do that? That's my question.
I'm not going to come back with a 42-page document, but I'll be able to give you a better sense for kind of in general what I'm hearing being spoken about, and then council can ask us to further dig into it and come up with more details. So 6 weeks won't give you a final report, but it'll certainly give you a better understanding of what we're really talking about.
Yeah, excellent.
Gotcha.
I think that's agreeable. Other comments? I'll just say that I appreciate Mr. Connell bringing that forward. I do appreciate it. The care group is amazing, and we've got an amazing director in recreation. I know that Shane will bring in a great product to get us started. That's terrific. And I've got this doorstop that I've been reading called the Recreation Plan that needs to be updated. And I would just say in closing, and before we go to a vote, that resources are the key. And you watch Shane and his team and the volunteers we've asked to go there, and to include the armory, do the best with, well, it's trying to make, in some cases, trying to make chicken salad out of chicken leavings, if I'll be polite about that. But the Armory has been around forever, and I know, Vic, you've been trying to get money out of the State House to help and all that sort of thing. Yep. Well, I look forward to your report. And with that, I move to a vote. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. And it's unanimous. Vic, move ahead. We move now to new business work plan, item number 2. It's tab F. It's on the screen, and it's page 10 in your electronic book. Mr. Carpenter, just take
Mr. Chairman, members of council, have in front of you the budget workshop schedule starting next Tuesday. As we've done in the past several years, we'll be doing weekdays at Tuesdays at 10 o'clock. We start with elected officials and outside agencies, and then move into those departments and those issues that were standing out as council asking for some more detail and delving into it, and then we move into the budget itself starting in May with the anticipated first reading of the budget coming into UC. First reading would be on May the 24th, and then moving on to final reading of the budget June 28th.
And it'll be located where?
Here in this room right here.
Yeah, gentlemen, will be at these tables and not down in the lower tables. With that, any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Tucker.
I can't make any of these.
Really?
I'm only kidding.
Causing trouble.
Other discussion. All right, no vote is required here. We'll move on.
Mr. Chair, question.
Yeah, who was that? Oh, this is Snodgrass.
David.
Miss Mary, would you be able to create Google calendars for all these events and just share those with me on email and others if they want them? Thank you.
That's the last thing I need is another calendar.
That's how I live my
Okay,
life. Another calendar.
we'll move to item number 4. There's a bid for a public works facility. It's at tab H. There it is on the screen. Thank you, Danny. And it's on page 13 in your electronic books. I recommend you take a good look at that. With that, Mr. Carpenter, can you introduce it?
Mr. Chairman, members of council, as you recall, when the bond was issued, some major projects, one of the bigger one being the construction of new public works facility. As I remind council, the current facility that we have is roughly 50 years old, but it would not qualify for the Bailey bill. It is located inside
Good one, Vic. Good one.
And so this would allow us to build a facility, a public works office, meeting and training facility for our employees in solid waste, in our road department and public works. You see the bids in front of you. The low bid is $2,019,000. Staff recommends that we award the bid to ST Clifton Construction. Their headquarters is in Georgia, but they have an office in Columbia.
All right, very good. Can we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the lowest bidder.
Mr. Tucker, a second.
Second.
Mr. Gardner, discussion?
If I may, Mr. Chairman, just want to say, Mr. Carpenter, kudos to you staying on top of this right here and helping and guiding us when we got these funds to do this, because this is long overdue. And if anybody's listening or in the room and have family members out there, those, and I hate to use this word, but those are deplorable work conditions or environment for our employees to work in, and we need to do something. But thank you.
Other comments?
I've got a question.
Go ahead, Mr. Brazel. I was hoping you would.
So, is there a part B to this project?
This would be the building based on funds remaining, then Part B would be to go to the existing Public Works yard and facility, and funds remaining we would then use to upgrade that.
So
this
what
is
was
building
approved? $4.5 million was approved initially?
The total bond, of course, it also includes fire station and EMS station. This is the first project in the bond. So once the 3 main projects are completed, any remaining funds then we can put back into finishing out this complex. But we don't know what bids are going to come in at, so we're trying to go very cautiously in committing funds until we know we have the money to do the 3 main projects.
Does this include the scales?
It does include the scales, yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I was going to ask the quick question, the 20% contingency. Can you talk about that?
Yes, sir. That just honestly we always try to include a contingency in any bid we do. As Mr. Brazel pointed out early, construction costs have gone so crazy.
Absolutely.
There are no bids that go out anymore that don't get modified in the course of the project because the cost of construction goes up in the middle of it, and that's just something we have to do.
Yeah, when Mr. Brazel talks on that issue, I listen. I'm really concerned about that. Thank you very much. Other comments? Ben?
Mr. Chairman, council, if you'll recall, we had the, I just call it the chemical building. But this price per square foot is the price per square foot I freaked out over like 3 or 4 years ago whenever we were building that, and we reevaluated, but now this is actually market. So, the market changes, you just have to deal with it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Other comments? With that, we move to a vote. All those in favor so signify by raising your hands. It's unanimous. Mary, if you'd so record that. And then we move to the next item on the agenda, which I've got to catch up with you, is an update on old business on amendments to ZLDR. Mr. Carpenter, I'm going to ask you to take that on. There's no attachment.
Mr. Chairman, you have in front of you, I've put in front of every member of council. Basically, the council asked us to work on some things relating to the ZLDR and the comp plan, as we mentioned earlier. We have started the process last night. The Planning and Zoning Commission approved an amendment to the ZLDR that is designed to try to streamline the process of appeals. You also have in front of you an opinion from the county attorney regarding the ability of staff to weigh in and have any ability to overrule decisions made related to that. This amendment that was approved by the Planning Commission will be to council at the next meeting, as council requested, that it be sent to you at that point in time. We also, at the same time, the request for proposals for the ZLDR rewrite is finishing up in purchasing, and that will go on the street.
ZLDR, a comprehensive plan.
The ZLDR.
In
Land use order.
Yeah,
Yes,
go ahead.
yes, sir.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, got it.
That's currently in the purchasing department. Upon them finishing their final approvals, it'll go on the street. Bids will be received, and that'll start the process of rewriting the ZLDR. We'll also then be doing the same, writing the request for proposals for the comp plan rewrite, which is not on the street yet, but that'll be going out as soon as we're done with ZLDR.
Thank you very much. Comments, please.
Question.
Russell, go ahead.
So we can address building quality standards during this process?
I believe so, yes, sir.
Okay.
Excellent.
That's what would be included.
Others?
Go ahead, Dave.
David?
Thank you. Can you go back? I was kind of reading and I heard, did you say something about council having authority over zoning?
Well, no, council has authority over
Rewrite,
zoning.
yeah.
Right, staff having the ability to weigh in upon decisions. So the county administrator does not have the ability to overrule decisions made. County council, of course, in zoning is always the final decision-making authority.
Right, okay, all right.
Yeah, good. Jimmy, please.
If I could. Mr. Carpenter, of course, the land use ordinance is going to take a while. The comprehensive plan is going to take a while. But we're trying to do a short fix, make it more user-friendly. It's so discombobulated and complicated, it's unbelievable, and I think everyone would agree with that. I tell you, I'm getting a lot of phone calls. I got a lot of phone calls last night, very upset about the way the commission was ran. And I'd like to ask you to look into that.
Yes, sir.
Because I was really disturbed at some of the things I heard that were and there was also, I was told there's a video that was made of the meeting. So I want to see that. I'd like you to look at it too. But just the way that people are trying to be suppressed with their vote, or trying to censor their vote, or telling them exactly what they've got to say, or they've got to do this. If they vote, they got to explain this, but yet they've never had to explain this before. And they've been on the commission for 5 years. Why do they have to explain it now? It's almost like, I don't know. You know, I wasn't there. I wouldn't go to one. Nobody on council needs to go to those. We understand that with ethics. However, I'm asking you to look into that thoroughly.
I wasn't there also, but I'll look into it and try to get a
Appreciate
copy of that video. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was very disturbed at what mine and everybody else's constituents were saying about it last night. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Other comments? Okay, very good. Thank you very much. And we move to the next item on the agenda, which is council briefings, beginning with Russell Brazel. Please, Russell.
I have no briefings today. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Connell.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a few items. First one is the Ad Hoc Committee on Growth. The next meeting is April 18th. That's next Monday at 6 p.m. And that's assuming that Miss Mary will allow me. I think we're going to meet in this in chambers here. Yeah, if Miss Mary will give me permission. Thank you. That was the first thing.
What time and what date again, please?
6 p.m. the 18th.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Before I get sentimental, I'll just mention that on recreation, there's obviously a demand out there, and we're really the only entity that can help address the supply. How we fund that's going to be a real question, but I think we can get it done. Thanks to Shane Duncan with all this discussion on recreation and the good work that he does and the staff he's put together. We hope that we come up with funds and plans in the future so that you can create even greater offerings for Kershaw County citizens. I appreciate the sheriff tonight mentioning autism awareness. One of the most impactful experiences I had when I was younger was volunteering over at the elementary school with a young man named Marky Cook, who is now probably 5 or 6 inches taller than me and just a giant of a man at this point. But he wasn't able to speak, but he taught me so much, even at a young age. I wanted to ask for prayers and comfort for Beth Field's family. Beth was a very special lady that I was able to work with for about 5 years every day, and she recently passed. She was a great example of Christ-like love and charity. And she fought a long battle with cancer and was very valiant and just loved everybody. I'd like to see a little bit more Beth Fields in all of us if we could. And then a lot was said tonight about the youth and how they need to have these opportunities to engage in sports and have mentors and that kind of thing. I saw Craig Hudson in the crowd tonight. He was a mentor when I was a kid, and I can't thank him enough for his kindness and charity when I was young. Just had that on my heart too.
He used to fight. You mean he was good to you?
Well, I used to wrestle, so it worked out. I still do wrestle. I try to get Jimmy to wrestle me every once in a while, but.
Don't bite that apple, Jimmy. Don't bite it.
He knows karate. And then lastly, sorry, that was one of my longest ever briefings. Lastly, to the kind lady that got up and spoke about utilities and surprise costs and things, I was just curious, I hope to chat with you afterwards about who your utility provider is. The county does some sewer. We don't have much control over electricity, but I'd be interested to know who that was and maybe connect you with the right people who can make a decision on that issue, administrators in that area. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the County Council. I don't want us to forget the National Telecommunications Week, very important role in our law enforcement, and we appreciate each one of them. And I also want to say that there's a gentleman, Mr. Kelly, sitting out in the audience, and his dad did 34 years. His picture's right over here. And I'll tell you what, he wore me out. Good man, good man. But anyway, also, I want to talk about the vets, their children, the military kids, what we did tonight. That was very special. It really was. I think the older I get, the more sentimental I get. But I'm going to tell you what came to my mind. And I have family members that have served, but Councilman Brazel's grandfather was one of the greatest men I ever met. He was, you want to talk about a true war hero. I can remember some of the stories that Russell's dad would share with me, and my hair would stand up on my arms. Even though I had that specialized training as clerk typist, I still got the hair standing up on my arms. But I'm going to tell you, Russell, Councilman Brazel, I mean that. Your grandfather was a true hero, and I know you're very proud, and also proud of what their family has done as being the third generation business in Kershaw County. But anyway, I had to say that, and folks, appreciate you. Thank you.
Mr. Snodgrass.
Sure. Mr. Chair, members of council, just a few remarks just want to make you aware of. And first thing is just kind of, back to the recreation. We've already made comment on that, but just want to continue my support on seeing that through. And it really just kind of hit me, just back to the basketball discussion. If you don't think about it, we are a basketball town. So, the Camden girls team did phenomenally well. We have the -- recruit in the nation for that class, in the county for basketball. And I could keep on going on and on. So let's not hope we don't lose that. And remember that there's a distinct culture here within the sport of basketball and with all sports. I'm not trying to single one out, but that it is what helps build community. And, community is special. And that kind of segues into my next comment. Those of you may or may not know, I've began work outside of Kershaw County, but I just want to make you aware that I'm still available, and I'm still in town about 2 or 3 days a week during the day, and I'm still serving, and I'm still available to any of my constituents, anyone in the county. I have time for you, and so I just want to make everyone aware of that, because some are aware that I am working outside the county, but I am still dedicated to the work that's being done here, and certainly only a phone call or an email away. But back to the community, as I've been looking at other communities in our state, let me tell you, this place is special. And my time behind this desk is limited, but my commitment to all of you gentlemen up here and all of you who are running, please make the commitment to continue to make and keep this place a very special community, because that's what it is. That's come from someone who's beginning to see community in other parts of our state, and I can tell you this is a special place, and just want to continue to encourage you guys to keep that specialness. Thank you.
Mr. Tucker.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Council. That was your swan song? Or?
Not yet.
Oh,
not
okay.
yet. No,
I was just making sure. I have a few things. I want to say good evening to a few people who I haven't seen in a while, and that's Miss Amy over there with the Chamber of Commerce. As always, we welcome our department heads, Mr. Shane over there, Mr. Cato, and the sheriff. And I got a couple people that like to come now. I've been here going on 18 years, and that NAACP group back there, man, I'm going to tell you, they have been faithful warriors since the beginning of the year. I think COVID had them shut down, but welcome as always. And Mr. Steve Kelly III, good to see you, buddy. Judge Hardis, you are absolutely right. That is the most clean recycle center that I have seen, and I've lived down off of Black River Road, not as long as you have, because I'm not quite as young, but over 30 years, and it is, I don't know where those two people come from, but Mr. Danny Templer, if you can clone you some more, you need to do that. They've really got that facility looking, because Springdale used to be kind of, the cream of the crop, that recycle center. But I'm going to tell you, if you know anything about recycle centers, that recycle center doesn't even look like the same. And thank you and the commission for all y'all hard work, because there was trash pickup on Black River Road as well, and we'll appreciate that as well. So thank you and the team. Miss Gwen, I'm going to tell you where you're at, dear heart. My heart went out for you. Wrong venue. You have electric with the city of Camden, and you need to go to the city council meetings. They meet on the same night we do, but they meet at 4 o'clock. That doesn't mean we're not going to try to help you, dear, okay? But it's just the wrong venue. We can't, you been there? Okay, so and you did speak to them. Okay, great. So that's good. You can tell your story more than once, and we'll appreciate it. But we hope that you're able to find some resolve, because I hear your cries, but that's an ongoing problem. Because do know this, and I think I stated this in the meeting that Councilman Brazel and I went to up there in Nice Hill.
Yeah, I was with you.
And I'm going to say, and Chairman Burns. When you live outside the city limits of Camden, all you get is higher utility rates.
Yep.
And that's no slam on Camden. That's just the way it works. So you need to stay vigilant, stay vocal, and make sure that you're getting the bang for your buck. So, follow up. Don't speak one time and then go away, because you will get no results on that. The young lady that was speaking about basketball, we've been in dire straits in Kershaw County for a long time for basketball facilities. What we've done since I've come out of recreation and into the public life, we piecemeal a lot of facilities, whether it's basketball, softball. We really went after a good little bit of soccer and did some of those things right. But basketball is probably one of the ones that suffer the most. And okay, I will speak to them in a minute. So with that being said, I thought we would be able to use more of the school facilities, but that never came to fruition like we anticipated. I know Shane tries and does, his best with forming those relationships. But this care group is going to be our ticket as far as I can see tonight. Now, I hope they don't run out of juice because they got a long road to haul. But that's going to be the group that's going to be able to make things happen when we can see the tangibles come to light a lot quicker. And it's going to cost. One thing about me, I don't sugarcoat nothing up here. I never have. And I get blamed for a lot. All Tucker want to do is raise taxes. No, you got to pay for things. Ain't nothing free. Okay, your hard work for this air you breathe and your lungs, it ain't free. Ain't nothing free in life. So you can, say it and put it how you want to put it, but that's just the truth. Telecommunication Week, Mr. Jones spoke on it. I'm going to challenge each of my colleagues up here, not just to speak on it. I want you to go by dispatch, whether it's tonight or sometime before the week's over, and tell those young ladies and men, thank you. Because they do a heck of a job with little appreciation, and all of you know the current story that has been floating around in there. And our administrator, Mr. Carpenter, and our assistant administrator has been working very diligently to get all that, where it's a lot better for everybody in that department. So please, I don't ask much of you. Stop by and just say thank you between now and Friday. I didn't think I would ever talk on a subject like this, and I'm going to talk straight to the audience and who's on film and the sheriff, because I think I've gotten my belly full. The next individual comes in here and insults a council member, anybody, and start calling names, going to get escorted out that door, if not down to Bramblewood down there and get 3 hots in a cot. This is not the venue. If you're that angry with someone, you do what Mr. Tom Webb does. Get you a doggone sign and you get on the corner of Broad and DeKalb, okay? And everybody that go to the post office or get stopped by that traffic light will see you. This is not the venue for that horse mess, and we're not going to tolerate it. Now, the only reason I think the deputies didn't move, because we didn't ask them. But, Chairman, as Vice Chairman, I will speak up and override you if you don't ask them to be escorted. Those type people don't deserve to be in public spaces and disrespect them as they are held at high standards and esteem when we conduct the public business. And that did bother me tonight. A lot doesn't bother me. Pretty much like a duck with water on his back. But I didn't appreciate that at all. And then he's going to go out and tell us we're all number one. But no, we're not.
Let's move ahead, please.
And so I say that, and I just want to thank everyone who still believes in government, whether you agree with it or not. It's our vehicle of being Americans to get things done in large numbers and in groups, and to better ourselves as citizens as a whole, as United States citizens. And there's not a child, let me say this, there's not a child in Kershaw County that I'm aware of that goes hungry while school is in and during the summer, unless they choose to almost. You got Mount Moriah Soup Kitchen, you got United Way, you got Food for Soul. My church is turned into a pantry. The school does so many meals after school. Don't come up here and then you play victim on the very people you don't even help. You don't even help them. But yet you want to now talk about them and say how bad they need a sandwich or a drink. You know, I tell people, if you're not in the trenches digging and pulling, don't come up here and use them as a crutch or a stone to step on to get your way or say what you think or believe yourself. That concludes my report, Mr.
Thank
Chairman.
you very much. Mr. Gardner.
I hate to follow that.
Yeah.
I just have a personal note. Since our last meeting, I have a new grandson. I was born last Tuesday.
Yeah.
Thank you. And we are very happy. It made number 7. Thank you.
All right, I'll close it out. I need to explain what go ahead and go, Jimmy. What recess means. It's one of the tools given to the chairman in such an instance as you saw during the public comments. We are here to listen and act and respectfully exchange and then move forward as a county in a better way. As my friend from the CARE organization said, we are a fantastic county, and we are. Not that we don't have problems, but not that we don't have anger and frustration, but this is not a place where we're to sit down and take such heat, especially when I tried to seek out that individual in a restaurant and he refused to talk to me. But up here, he doesn't mind talking about it. Let me just talk a little bit about boards and employees. We have people who volunteer to be on boards. Volunteer, okay? And some of these boards are very difficult, legally bound by rules and other things. We've had one person come in here to criticize that board, and I think that's inappropriate. To have concerns expressed is perfectly okay, but the boards and employees that serve us and the county, in some cases, are often victims of the regulations that are imposed on us and them by our higher headquarters, that is the state and federal laws. And our employees labor under policies and resources very often where they don't have enough. Let's show them respect and recognize, as I think I heard from the CARE committee tonight, that look, this is a tough problem. Let's get after it, roll our sleeves up and get after it. But there are other problems that have to be solved too, and sometimes we do now what we must do and do later what we can. And we're going to figure that out, and I think it's been framed very well here by the motion made by Mr. Connell, and I'm very happy to see that go forward. In the meantime, let's thank our employees like Cato here tonight and Shane and Mike, who labor under the regulations that the federal and state and we give them to try to make sense out of some tough problems. And that's one of the reasons I've asked Mr. Brazel and Mr. Connell and Mr. Gardner to sit on this ad hoc committee. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Russell. Thank you, Tom. 18th April, it will be a great meeting. I'm looking forward to it. But in that sense, I want to commend Mr. Brazel for helping us out twice with some of the consequences of growth, which is the traffic at various intersections. And he witnessed an accident, called me up and called others of us up. Russell, thank you. Something's going to happen. It happened inside the city, lives in Camden, but because of his professionalism and public service, I think we'll see an immediate action to cause less traffic, I hope, Russell, very soon. Maybe less accidents for sure. I want to say that the Clean Community Council, our commission, will be here the next meeting along with the head of DOT. Brian will be here because we had a very successful cleanup of the county. 228 volunteers, 3,775 miles, 437 bags, and we lost count after that. And DOT did something that I've never seen before. They picked up the trash before they cut the grass. Now think about that, all right? And we're going to have DOT here next time we meet on the 26th. I want to tell you, I got a letter from the CEO in Japan of the Japanese company here called Denkai, formerly Oak Mitsui, and with whom we met at the Cup and whom we had an exchange. And he was very happy with the support he gets from Kershaw County. And maintaining those relationships by such things as the Carolina Cup and personal relationships that Vic and Jeff and I and others maintain is absolutely key to maintaining great industry here, great jobs. I'd like to see the administrator and the attorney and the vice chair immediately after this about what happened during public comments. With that, Mr. Carpenter.
No report, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Attorney.
Nothing, Mr. Chairman.
With that, can we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Of course, Mr. Tucker, a second.
Second.
From Mr. Gardner, discussion?
One quick comment.
Yes, please.
We left, you made some good points, but we need to show the citizens of Kershaw County respect. Our committees and our commissions and our employees need to make sure, and I know they are, the majority of them are, but bottom line, these commissions need to realize that we work for the people of Kershaw County and they accept that position. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. That was an excellent clarification. With that, we move to a vote. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. And we are adjourned. Mary, thank you.